Your mouse hovers over the button. You don't click it right away, not because you're unsure, but because you want to savor this moment. The chart is telling you exactly what you trained yourself to see. The pattern, the setup, the signal, everything is aligned and you know it. You've done your homework, you've back-tested this, you've seen this move play out before, twice, maybe 3 times. You recognize the shape of it like a face you've known for years. There's a quiet confidence sitting in your chest. Not loud, not arrogant, just certain. You adjust your position size. You think briefly about risk, you dismiss it just as quickly. I've managed risk on tighter setups than this. And so you click. The trade is open, the number is live, and there's a small, almost invisible smile at the corner of your mouth. That smile and that confidence is exactly what makes what happens next so dangerous. Level 1. The identity you built around winning. Let's go back, not to today, further. Back to when trading was still confusing. When you were still reading forums at 2 a.m., watching YouTube tutorials on candlestick patterns, trying to understand why the market moved the way it did, back when you lost small amounts and told yourself it was tuition, back when every small win felt enormous because it meant you were learning, it meant you had a chance. Somewhere in that season, something shifted. You stopped being someone who trades, you started becoming a trader. It sounds like the same thing. It isn't. When you're someone who trades, a loss is just a bad day. When you're a trader, a loss becomes something more personal, more complicated, because now the results aren't just numbers in an account, they're evidence. Evidence of who you are. Evidence that you're smart enough, disciplined enough, different enough from everyone who failed before you. The wins started doing more than make you money. They made you feel real. They confirmed the story you were telling yourself. That you saw what others missed. That you had the edge. That you belonged in this world that most people didn't understand. Your confidence was no longer just performance-based. It was identity-based. And there's a difference, a dangerous one. Performance confidence adjusts with data. It says, that trade didn't work. Let me figure out why. Identity confidence doesn't adjust. It defends. It says, that trade didn't work, but I'm still right. You didn't notice when one became the other. Most people don't. The transition is smooth, almost elegant. One day you're humble and hungry. The next day you're certain in a way that has nothing to do with the chart in front of you. The market doesn't care who you think you are. It never did. You didn't just risk money, you risked who you thought you were. Level 2, the moment the trade turns against you. The first sign is subtle. Price moves against you, but only slightly. A few ticks, a small retreat. You've seen this before. You know what this is. This is the shakeout, the fake out. The market testing weak hands before continuing in the direction you predicted. This is normal, you think. This is the noise before the move. You refresh the chart. The number dips a little more. You're slightly down now, but not enough to care about, not enough to act on. You lean back, you check your phone, you get a glass of water, you come back, still down. There's a faint discomfort, barely there, somewhere behind your ribs. Not quite anxiety, more like a low-grade alertness, the kind your body sends when something in the environment has changed even if you can't identify what. You ignore it. You've been trained to ignore it. Emotional traders lose, disciplined traders hold. You zoom out on the chart, the bigger picture still looks fine, the structure is intact, the thesis is valid, you're just in the noise. You zoom back in, you're more down now. The discomfort behind your ribs gets slightly louder, but something about this move feels different. Level 3, the first decision that makes it worse. Here is the moment nobody talks about. Not in the courses, not in the tutorials, not in the trading books with the clean clinical examples. This is the moment where the real damage begins. Not when the trade went wrong, but when you decided what to do about it. You have options. You've always had options. You could close it now. Take the loss. Small. Manageable. A rounding error in the bigger story of your trading career. You could walk away, reset, come back tomorrow with a clear head, but you don't. Instead, you convince yourself of something. It's sophisticated sounding. It uses real trading vocabulary, support levels, market structure, mean reversion. It even has a logical shape to it. But underneath the logic, if you could hear it without the clever words, it sounds like this: I don't want to be wrong. So you hold. And then, quietly, almost playfully, you take it one step further. You add to the position. Average down, you call it. Improve my entry. You tell yourself, it's not a mistake. It just needs time. And here's what makes this moment so insidious. It doesn't feel like denial. It feels like strategy. It feels calculated, controlled, like you're not reacting to fear. You're responding to opportunity. But you're not responding to opportunity. You're responding to the unbearable possibility that you were wrong. That's different. That's not strategy. That's the ego wearing strategy's clothes. And that's where control quietly slips away. You don't notice at first. You're staring at the screen now, not glancing. Staring. There's a quality of stillness to you that, from the outside, might look like focus. It isn't. It's paralysis wearing focus as a costume. You've zoomed in so far on this one chart that the rest of the world has stopped existing. You're not thinking about your other trades. You're not thinking about your risk rules. You're certainly not thinking about anything outside the market. The person who texted you 20 minutes ago, the cup of coffee going cold beside you, the vague awareness that you should eat something, all of that has receded. There's only this. You're looking for confirmation. You're scanning every micro movement for signs that support what you already believe. That this is temporary, that the reversal is coming, that you were right and the market is just being slow to agree. You find those signs everywhere because when you're looking for something badly enough, you find it. A small bounce, that's it, the reversal is starting. Then it falls again. Fake out, classic bear trap. Then it goes sideways. Consolidation before the push-up. Every piece of evidence that contradicts your position gets instantly reframed into evidence that supports it. You have become spectacularly, expertly biased. This is tunnel vision. Not metaphorically, physiologically. Your brain under stress literally narrows its focus. Peripheral information gets filtered out. You stop being able to see the full picture because your nervous system has decided that survival depends on this one thing in front of you. And the longer you sit in the loss, the worse this gets. And now, it's not about the trade anymore. Hits hard. The number is bigger now. Not a little bigger, significantly bigger. Big enough that when you finally let yourself look at it, really look at it without the mental gymnastics, your stomach drops. For a moment, nothing happens. That's the strange part. You always imagined that a loss like this would feel dramatic, cinematic even, heart-pounding, hands shaking, immediate clarity of disaster. But the first thing that comes is not panic. It's something quieter and more unsettling. Stillness. A specific kind of stillness, like the second between lightning and thunder where the world is holding its breath and you don't know yet what's coming. Then the thoughts start arriving. Not in a rush, in a slow, horrible procession. How did this get this far? When did I stop seeing it clearly? What do I do now? And underneath all of those questions, one thought that you don't say out loud, one thought that sits at the bottom of everything like a stone. I knew something was wrong and I didn't act. That's the line that separates this from just a loss. You can make peace with being wrong about a trade. Markets are uncertain. Being wrong is part of the job. But this isn't just being wrong. This is knowing something was wrong and choosing to stay anyway, choosing to stay and add and hold and hope instead of acting on what you already knew. The loss isn't what breaks you. The knowing is. Your hands feel strange. Your breathing has changed. Shallower, faster, without you asking it to. The screen in front of you is the same as it always was, but somehow everything it shows feels foreign. You stare at the number. The number does not care. And this is the moment you realize You're not in control anymore. At some point, it ends. Maybe you close it yourself. A moment of brutal clarity where you finally let the truth in, that this position is not coming back, that every additional minute is just additional damage, that the kindest thing you can do for yourself right now is to stop. Or maybe the decision gets made for you. Margin, liquidation, the account doing automatically what you couldn't bring yourself to do manually. Either way, click, the trade is closed, and then there's silence. Not literal silence. Your environment is probably the same as it was an hour ago, but inside you there is a sudden, heavy quiet, the kind that comes after something irreversible. You look at the number, the final number, what this cost, and you sit with it. The strange thing about this moment is that it's almost calm. The panic from before, the tunnel vision, the frantic reframing, the desperate search for signs, all of that noise has stopped because there's nothing left to hope for. The outcome is fixed. The number is real. There's a specific kind of stillness that only comes after you stop fighting something. This is that stillness. It's gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. You close the laptop halfway, not all the way. You're not ready to fully disconnect, just halfway. Like leaving a room without turning the light off. You sit there, but losing the money isn't the hardest part. Nobody sees. The replay begins almost immediately. You go back to the beginning of the trade, not by choice, not consciously. It just starts. Your mind pulls you back to the entry, walks you through every decision, every moment you could have acted differently, every signal you saw and interpreted wrong, every warning you felt and dismissed. You replay it slowly the first time, then faster. Then you start zooming in on specific moments, running them back and forth, asking the questions that have no useful answer. What if I'd closed at the first red candle? What if I hadn't added? What was I thinking? The regret is specific and sharp. It's not the diffuse, shapeless regret of a mistake you couldn't have seen coming. This is surgical. You can identify exactly where things went wrong. You can see the decision tree, every branch where a different choice would have led somewhere better. That specificity makes it worse. There's no comfort in, I couldn't have known. You could have known. Part of you did know. Then the anger arrives. Sometimes it's at the market, the move, the timing, the randomness of it all. Sometimes it turns inward faster and harder. How did I let this happen? What was wrong with me? I know better than this. The self-blame is the most exhausting part, not because it's cruel, though it is, but because it's circular. It doesn't lead anywhere, it just loops. The same scenes, the same questions, the same conclusions over and over, with the same tightness in your chest each time. You think about the amount, you do the math on what it represents. Hours of work, months of gains. The number translates into real things, and the real things make it heavier. And the more you think about it, and the worse it gets. The next day you sit down to trade, and you can't do it. It's not that you don't know how. You've done this hundreds of times. The mechanics haven't changed. The charts are the same. The process is the same. But something in you has shifted. Every setup now looks slightly threatening. Where you used to see opportunity, you now see the shadow of what happened. Your analysis, which used to feel solid, decisive, now feels flimsy, provisional, like you're building on ground that might give way. You set up a trade and then stare at it for 20 minutes. You second-guess the entry. You reduce the size, you add a tighter stop, then you second-guess the stop. Then you close the trade before it even had time to develop because the discomfort of being in it was unbearable. Your edge, the thing you spent years building, now feels unavailable to you. Not gone exactly, just inaccessible. Like a skill you have but can't currently perform. Doubt has entered the room. And the cruelest thing about doubt is that it doesn't just affect the things you were wrong about, it infects everything. The decisions you would have made correctly, you now question those too. The reads that were solid, you now second guess. The confidence that used to be a tool, it's gone quiet. Before this, you knew what kind of trader you were. After this, you're not sure. What if my edge was never real? What if the wins before this were just luck? These questions don't have easy answers, And the fact that they don't have easy answers makes them dangerous. Because when certainty disappears, people fill the gap with the worst possible assumptions. And now, even simple decisions don't feel simple anymore. You have conversations, you make plans and show up and say the right things, but nobody knows. You don't tell anyone what happened. Not your family, not your friends, maybe not even the people closest to you who know you trade, because explaining this, really explaining it, would require telling them things you can barely say to yourself, that you held too long, that you knew something was wrong, that you added to a losing trade. These facts feel embarrassing in a way that goes beyond a normal mistake, because people who don't understand trading will just hear carelessness, and people who do understand trading, you're not sure you can face the look in their eyes, so you perform normal. You laugh at the right moments, you answer questions, you talk about other things, and completely other things, with a fluency that surprises even you, and the whole time in a quieter layer underneath you're carrying this. It's a strange thing to have something large inside you that the outside world cannot see. You look the same, you sound the same, but internally something heavy has taken up residence and you don't know how to ask it to leave. There's an exhaustion that comes with this kind of private weight, not physical exhaustion, and the kind that comes from constant performance, from always managing the gap between what's inside and what you're showing. You go home, you sit with it, like carrying it alone like makes it heavier, and carrying it alone like makes it heavier. It doesn't come as an insight. Not a clean, clear moment of understanding with swelling music and sudden calm. That's not how these lessons arrive. It comes slowly, over days, maybe weeks, in fragments. You start to see things you couldn't see when you were in the middle of it. Not because you've become wiser overnight, but because the distance is finally long enough. The emotional charge has dropped just enough that you can look at what happened without flinching every 5 seconds. And what you see is this: the trade was never the problem. The trade was just the last scene in a story that had been building for a long time. A story about ego masquerading as confidence. About self-worth that had gotten tied up in performance. About the inability to be wrong about something that felt like it was you. You see the moment you stopped managing the trade and started managing your own emotions through the trade. You see the moment discipline left the room and something more desperate took its seat. You see the risk rules you had, clear, reasonable rules you had written down, and you see the exact point where you broke them. Not because you forgot them, because in that moment they felt like they didn't apply. Because you were certain, because this time was different. It was not different. Here's the hardest part of the lesson. It wasn't the market's fault. There are traders who had the same setup that day and got out at the right time. The difference wasn't their information, it was their relationship to being wrong. You have to become someone who can be wrong without it meaning something about who you are. That's not a technique, it's not a strategy, it's not something you can write on a sticky note beside your monitor. It's a fundamental change in how you relate to outcomes, and changes like that don't come cheap. They come exactly like this, but the lesson costs more than you expected. After losing everything, you come back. Not immediately, not with the same energy, not with the bravado or the certainty or the quiet arrogance that felt once like strength. You come back smaller, more deliberate, more honest. You sit down at the charts and the first thing you notice is that you approach them differently. There's less urgency, less hunger, where you used to feel the pull of opportunity, the need to be in the market, to be doing something, to be making something happen. There's now a different quality, patience, the kind that doesn't feel passive because it has been genuinely earned. You look at a setup and you ask different questions, not just, is this going to work? But what happens if it doesn't? How much am I willing to lose on this? Can I live with that number? The position sizes are smaller now, not because you can't afford larger. Because you've learned in the most expensive possible classroom, that size is where ego hides, that the times you went biggest were almost always the times you were most certain, and that certainty, unexamined, is one of the most dangerous states you can trade in. Your rules are no longer suggestions, they're architecture. They're the thing that holds the structure up when emotion tries to pull everything down. You lose trades now. Of course you do, but they're different losses, clean, bounded. You got in with a plan, the plan didn't work, you closed it and moved on. The trade was just a trade, not evidence, not a referendum on who you are. That distinction changes everything. There is something else, too. Something harder to name. A kind of groundedness you didn't have before. Not the false confidence of someone who thinks they can't be hurt, but the real confidence of someone who has been hurt and kept going. Who knows now, from experience rather than theory, that they can absorb a loss and come back, that the account can bleed, and they can still sit down the next morning and approach the work clearly. The market didn't give you that. The loss gave you that. You look back at who you were before that trade. So certain, so attached, so quietly fragile underneath all that performance, and you almost feel affection for that version of you. They were trying, they just didn't know yet what they didn't know. You didn't just lose money, you lost illusions. The illusion that certainty was the same as safety. The illusion that ego and edge were the same thing. The illusion that you could build something lasting on a foundation of needing to be right. Those illusions were expensive. But here's the quiet truth that takes the longest to arrive. They were worth it. Not because the pain was romantic, not because suffering is glamorous, but because you can now do this work, this strange, solitary, psychologically demanding work of trading from a place of genuine clarity. You're not chasing validation anymore. You're not performing for an invisible audience. You're not trying to prove something to a version of your past that isn't watching. You're just here, present, doing the work, and that version of you, the one sitting calmly at the screen, managing risk like it matters, closing trades without drama, staying with the process even when the results are slow, that version of you is worth more than any single trade. Worth more than any account balance. Worth more than the confidence you carried before you learned what confidence actually costs. You didn't lose everything in one trade. You lost the version of you that wasn't ready to win.